"I'll pay for everything," said millionaire CEO Victoria Sterling, looking at the medical bills for 7-year-old Sophie's cancer treatment. Her father Mark stared in shock at this generous stranger. But Victoria wasn't there to help, she was there for revenge. 5 years of planning had led to this moment. Before watching full story, comment below from where you watching, also like and subscribe for more stories. "I'll pay for everything," said Victoria Sterling, the millionaire CEO of Sterling Industries, as she looked at the medical bills scattered across Mark Thompson's kitchen table. Mark looked up in shock from where he sat holding his 7-year-old daughter Sophie, who was pale and weak from months of cancer treatment. "What did you say?" "Your daughter's medical bills. The experimental treatment she needs." "I'll pay for all of it," Victoria repeated, her voice steady despite the emotional storm raging inside her. Mark stared at this wealthy stranger who had just walked into his tiny apartment and offered to save his daughter's life. "Lady, I don't even know who you are. Why would you help us?" Victoria's heart pounded as she looked at Sophie's innocent face. The little girl had the same bright blue eyes and curly blonde hair as another child Victoria had known long ago. Because every child deserves a chance to live. But Victoria wasn't telling Mark the whole truth. She wasn't there out of pure kindness. She was there because Mark Thompson had destroyed her life 5 years ago, and she had spent years planning her revenge. 5 years earlier, Mark had been a construction worker on one of Victoria's building projects. During an inspection, Mark had discovered that Victoria's company was using cheap, dangerous materials that violated safety codes. When Mark reported the violations, it had triggered a massive investigation that destroyed Victoria's reputation and cost her millions. Victoria had lost contracts, faced lawsuits, and watched her construction empire crumble. She had been forced to rebuild from nothing, clawing her way back to success through years of hard work and sacrifice. "Mark Thompson ruined my life," Victoria had told herself countless times. "Now I'm going to ruin his." Victoria had hired private investigators to find Mark and learn everything about his life. She discovered that he was now a single father working 2 minimum wage jobs to pay for his daughter's cancer treatment. His wife had left him when Sophie got sick, unable to handle the stress and medical bills. The perfect revenge had presented itself. Victoria would offer to pay for Sophie's treatment, make Mark dependent on her generosity, and then pull away the funding at the crucial moment. She would destroy him emotionally and financially, just as he had destroyed her. "Mr. Thompson, I know this seems strange," Victoria said, maintaining her kind facade. "But I'm a successful businesswoman, and I believe in helping families in need." Mark looked down at Sophie, who was sleeping in his arms. The doctors had said she needed an expensive experimental treatment that wasn't covered by insurance. Without it, Sophie had maybe 6 months to live. "I can't accept charity," Mark said proudly. "I take care of my own family." "It's not charity. Consider it an investment in Sophie's future. When she grows up healthy and successful, maybe she'll help other sick children." Sophie stirred in Mark's arms and looked up at Victoria with curious eyes. "Are you an angel, lady?" Victoria felt an unexpected pain in her chest. "No, sweetheart. I'm just someone who wants to help." "Daddy, she has kind eyes. Like Mommy used to have before she went away." Mark's face tightened at the mention of his ex-wife. "Sophie, don't bother the nice lady." "She's not bothering me," Victoria said softly. Despite her plans for revenge, she found herself genuinely touched by Sophie's innocence. Over the next few weeks, Victoria paid for Sophie's treatment and watched the little girl begin to improve. She visited the hospital regularly, telling herself she was just monitoring her investment. But she found herself looking forward to Sophie's bright smile and excited chatter about her drawings and favorite books. Mark was grateful but suspicious. "Miss Sterling, why are you really doing this? Rich people don't usually help strangers without wanting something in return." "Maybe I'm not like other rich people," Victoria replied, though she knew she was lying. As Sophie's health improved, Victoria began to learn more about Mark's life. She discovered that he worked 16-hour days to pay for rent and food. He slept on the couch so Sophie could have the bedroom. He read her stories every night despite being exhausted from work. "You're a good father," Victoria told him one day as they watched Sophie play with other children in the hospital playroom. "I try to be. Sophie is all I have left." When her mother left, Mark's voice broke slightly. "I promised Sophie I would never give up on her." Victoria felt an uncomfortable twist in her stomach. This wasn't the selfish man she had imagined. This was a devoted father who was sacrificing everything for his daughter. But Victoria pushed down her doubts. Mark had cost her everything 5 years ago. He deserved to pay for what he had done. The experimental treatment was working. Sophie's cancer was going into remission, and she was getting stronger every day. The doctors were optimistic about her complete recovery. That's when Victoria decided to spring her trap. "Mark, I need to talk to you," Victoria said one evening when they were alone in Sophie's hospital room. Sophie was sleeping peacefully for the first time in months. "What is it?" Mark asked, noting the serious tone in Victoria's voice. "I'm pulling the funding. This is Sophie's last treatment." Mark's face went white. What? "The treatment is working. She's getting better. Because I never intended to pay for everything. I wanted to give Sophie a taste of hope before taking it away." "I don't understand. You said you wanted to help." Victoria's voice turned cold. "I lied. Do you remember Victoria Sterling Construction? The company you destroyed 5 years ago?" Mark's eyes widened with recognition. You're her. But that company was using dangerous materials. Children could have been killed. My company, my reputation, my life's work. You destroyed everything because of your misguided sense of righteousness. People could have died. I had to report the safety violations. And now your daughter is going to die because of your choices. Perfect justice." Mark lunged forward and grabbed Victoria by the shoulders. "You can't do this. Sophie is innocent. She's just a little girl. Keep your voice down. You'll wake her," Victoria said cruelly. "I want Sophie to have one last peaceful night before you have to tell her that her treatments are ending." Mark released Victoria and sank into a chair, his face in his hands. "Please. I'm begging you. Take your revenge on me, not on her. She doesn't deserve this. You should have thought about that before you decided to play hero 5 years ago." Victoria left the hospital that night feeling triumphant. Her revenge was complete. Mark would suffer the loss of his daughter just as she had suffered the loss of everything she had built. But as Victoria drove home to her luxury penthouse, she couldn't stop thinking about Sophie's innocent question. "Are you an angel, lady?" That night Victoria couldn't sleep. She kept seeing Sophie's trusting face, her excitement about getting better, her drawings that she had given to Victoria as thank you gifts. The next morning Victoria returned to the hospital to see Mark's reaction to her ultimatum. She expected to find him broken and desperate, begging for her mercy. Instead, she found Mark sitting calmly beside Sophie's bed, reading her a story. "Daddy, is Miss Victoria coming to visit today?" Sophie asked hopefully. "I don't know, sweetheart. We'll see." Sophie looked disappointed. "I made her a special drawing. It's a picture of all 3 of us together because she's like family now." Victoria stood in the doorway, listening to this conversation and feeling something break inside her chest. "Mr. Thompson," she called softly. Mark looked up, his face showing no anger, just resignation. "Sophie, why don't you go play with the nurses for a few minutes? Miss Victoria and I need to talk." After Sophie left, Mark turned to Victoria. "I spent all night thinking about what you said. And you're right." Victoria was surprised. "I am? 5 years ago, I destroyed your life's work. I took everything you had built and threw it away. I told myself I was doing the right thing, but I never thought about what it would cost you personally." Victoria hadn't expected this. "You're admitting you were wrong?" "I'm admitting that I didn't consider the human cost of my actions. Just like you're not considering the human cost of yours. Your daughter is going to die because of your choices," Victoria said, but her voice lacked its earlier conviction. "Yes, she is. And I'll have to live with that for the rest of my life. Just like you've had to live with losing your company." Mark stood up and walked to the window. "But there's a difference between us, Victoria." "What's that?" "When I destroyed your company, I was trying to save children from being hurt by dangerous buildings. When you destroy my daughter, you'll be hurting a child to satisfy your need for revenge." Victoria felt tears stinging her eyes. "You destroyed everything I worked for. And you built it back up. You're more successful now than you ever were before. But Sophie, if she dies, I can never build her back up. She'll just be gone forever." Victoria looked at the drawings Sophie had made for her, taped to the wall beside the hospital bed. Pictures of flowers, rainbows, and happy families. At the bottom of each drawing, Sophie had written, "Thank you for saving me," in her careful 7-year-old handwriting. "She thinks I'm saving her," Victoria whispered. "You are saving her. Or you were, until you decided that revenge was more important than a child's life." Victoria sank into a chair, overwhelmed by the weight of what she was about to do. "I've spent 5 years planning this. I've thought about nothing but making you pay for what you did to me. And now you have the chance. The question is whether revenge will make you feel as good as you thought it would." Sophie came skipping back into the room carrying a new drawing. Ms. Victoria. Look what I made for you. The drawing showed 3 stick figures holding hands under a rainbow. The tallest figure had long dark hair like Victoria's. The middle figure had short brown hair like Mark's. The smallest figure had curly blonde hair like Sophie's. It's our family, Sophie explained proudly. Because you take care of us now. Victoria stared at the drawing, her hands shaking. Sophie, I'm not really part of your family. Yes, you are. You're the one who made me better. Daddy says that makes you family. Victoria looked at Mark, who was watching her with a mixture of sadness and understanding. Sophie, Victoria said carefully, what if I told you that I couldn't pay for your treatments anymore? Sophie's face fell. Are you poor now? Daddy and I know about being poor. We could share our food with you. The innocence of the offer shattered Victoria's remaining resolve. This child, who was facing death because of Victoria's revenge, was offering to share her food with the woman who was destroying her. Victoria stood up abruptly. I need some air. She rushed out of the hospital and sat in her car, crying harder than she had cried since her company first collapsed 5 years ago. Her phone rang. It was her assistant. Miss Sterling, the shareholders' meeting is in an hour. They're waiting for your decision about the Thompson funding. Victoria had planned to announce at the meeting that she was ending her charitable work with the Thompson family, using it as an example of her company's selective generosity. Cancel the meeting, Victoria said. Cancel it? But the board is expecting. Cancel it and set up a new meeting for tomorrow. I need to change my presentation. Victoria returned to the hospital and found Mark and Sophie in the playroom. Sophie was teaching other sick children how to draw rainbows. Mark, can I talk to you privately? Victoria asked. They walked to a quiet corner while Sophie continued her art lesson. I've made a decision, Victoria said. I'm continuing the funding for Sophie's treatment. Mark's face showed relief and confusion. What? What changed your mind? Your daughter. She offered to share her food with me because she thought I was poor. A dying child offered to take care of the person who was planning to let her die. Victoria wiped away a tear. 5 years ago you cost me my business. But I built a new one bigger and better than before. Sophie will only get one life. I can't take that away from her, no matter what you did to me. Mark's eyes filled with tears. Victoria, I know you probably can't forgive me for what I did to your company, but actually, I need to thank you. Thank me? If my company hadn't collapsed, I never would have learned how to build something from nothing. I never would have developed the strength and determination that made me who I am today. In a way, you did me a favor. I still cost you everything you had worked for. And now I have more than I ever dreamed of. Maybe it's time for both of us to stop living in the past. Over the next few months, Victoria continued paying for Sophie's treatment and found herself becoming genuinely attached to the little girl and her father. Sophie's cancer went into complete remission, and she was declared cured. On the day Sophie was released from the hospital, she hugged Victoria tightly. Thank you for saving my life, Sophie said. I love you, Miss Victoria. I love you too, sweetheart, Victoria replied, meaning it completely. As they left the hospital together, Mark walked beside Victoria. What happens now? He asked. Now Sophie grows up healthy and happy. And maybe we all learn that sometimes the best revenge is choosing not to take it. 6 months later, Victoria offered Mark a job managing safety compliance for her construction company. She had realized that his keen eye for detail and unwavering moral compass were exactly what her company needed. Are you sure about this? Mark asked. People will think you're crazy for hiring the man who once destroyed your business. Let them think whatever they want. I'm hiring the man who saved my daughter's life by teaching me that some things are more important than revenge. At Sophie's 8th birthday party held in Victoria's penthouse, Sophie made a wish before blowing out her candles. What did you wish for, sweetheart? Victoria asked. I wish that you and Daddy would get married so we could be a real family, Sophie said innocently. Mark and Victoria looked at each other and laughed, both blushing slightly. Sophie, Miss Victoria and I are just friends, Mark explained. But you both love me and you like each other and we already live together sometimes. That's what families do. 6 months later, in a small ceremony attended by Sophie's friends from the hospital, Victoria and Mark were married. Sophie was the flower girl, beaming with pride as her 2 favorite people promised to love and take care of each other forever. During the reception, Victoria gave a speech that brought tears to everyone's eyes. 5 years ago, I thought Mark Thompson was my enemy. He had destroyed something I loved and I wanted to destroy something he loved in return. But Sophie taught me that love is always stronger than revenge, and that the best way to heal from pain is to help heal someone else's pain. She looked at Sophie, who was dancing with her new stepfather. I came into their lives planning to take everything away. Instead, they gave me everything I never knew I needed. Sometimes the greatest gift isn't getting revenge on your enemies, it's discovering that they were never your enemies at all. As Victoria watched her new family celebrate, she realized that her plan for revenge had succeeded in a way she never expected. She had destroyed the bitter, angry woman she used to be and replaced her with someone capable of unconditional love. The little girl who had called her an angel had been right all along. Victoria had saved Sophie's life, but Sophie had saved Victoria's soul. And in the end, that was a much more valuable gift than any revenge could ever be.